Last week, Bradley Holly became our first repeat winner this season with back-to-back wins at Bristol and Chicagoland. Going into Virginia with a strong lead in both the Drivers' and Teams' Championship, will Holly be able to hold on, or will Ken Huber be able to mount a charge back to the lead? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 5 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, sponsored by Diecast Kings, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Our director tonight will be Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Richmond may be relatively flat and banked, is only about 3/4 of a mile, but it's a fast and dangerous track. And to learn more about it, let's send you down to our track guide.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global Sim Racing Channel. My name is Brian Yazik and today I'll be taking you for a spin around Richmond in the GSRC Silverado. Richmond is a fun little track, but this truck tends to lumber around here, and I'll show you here on your quick lap. So, going into turn 1, into the brake zone here, find the bottom. This truck does not want to turn in the middle of the corner, so what you have to fear coming off of the corner is a little bit of a push-loose condition. Back down into 3, find the yellow line again, roll in, let it hit the apron there, back into the gas underneath the start-finish line. Turn 1 is a little tricky because there's not a great braking marker to find. You kind of have to figure out something for yourself. For me personally, I use the sound of the engine going off into the corner. Turn 3, however, you've got the start of the safer barrier right there. Hit the brake, find the bottom. You can kind of roll through the middle here as the run goes on, and you can move up and down between the yellow line and that seam right there. Back into the same situation here in turn 1. You can take this a little higher and actually try to diamond the corner a little bit, still watching a little bit of that plowing off. If you're used to running around here in the Cup car or the B car, you'll notice that the truck just feels tight. It feels like you're driving a cement mixer, but it's just the lack of horsepower and the aerodynamic shape of the truck. Turns 1 and 2 again, find the bottom, back off into the corner. You can get into the gas pretty early here, but again, watch that push loose. Even in turns 3 and 4, you can kind of start to run that groove, but I doubt you'll see too many people up there just because you're giving up so much time in the middle of the corner. And Richmond is really measured on how good you can get from the center off. So Richmond in the trucks is a great race. In the daytime, it's going to be hot and slick. At night, it'll be a little bit more grippy, and you'll see guys kind of stick to the bottom like it is going out of style. But underneath the sunlight, the track does loosen up a little bit and gives it a little bit more character and makes it a little bit more tricky to drive. So with that being said, I'm Brian Yazik, and you have a great day.
There you saw about a dozen laps around Richmond, giving us a great explanation of what it's like during the day, but this is going to be a little bit more of a dark race, Chris, so tell us a little bit about what they can expect here.
Well, just from what we've seen in practice, Adam, this track is, or at least this setup is, incredibly loose. As the kids would say, it's loose AF. And we're going to be looking for a slippery race here with that going on. It's the twilight setup with the ambient air setting, so it's going to be transitioning towards dark, so the track's going to be cooling off. Look for it to get quicker as the night goes on, and we're going to see a lot of, probably a decent amount of side-by-side racing as this track allows, but again, with the very loose setup, look for things to maybe get a little dicey throughout this event, especially once we get in the latter stages when they turn up the wick and start racing for real.
And of course, Chris meant "and fast" is what the translation of AF would be. But we do have some sponsors for this season. The season sponsor this season is Shop Diecast Kings. They're your home for the best selection of NHRA, NASCAR, and now introducing IndyCar diecast for the 2020 season. Pick yours up today at diecastkings.com. We also have a league sponsor, Chris.
That's right. The league is sponsored by the ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Visit thebutkicker.com today to view their full line of products.
One person who definitely does not need a butt kicker is Bradley Holly, who is currently leading our driver's standings with 175 points. He's 14 points over Ken Huber, but with Bradley Holly's consistency, that 14-point gap is looking ever larger, and he gained quite a bit on Ken Huber, who finished 5th last week. Rob Haynes is a little bit out of touch at 25 points back, with Paul Williams and Thomas Sink rounding out that top 5. What do we got for the team's championship, Chris?
Well, much like the drivers' championship, somebody representing the ButtKicker Ramrod team is still on top. They've extended their lead from the week before to 36 markers, up 9 points from last week. The Rescue Racing Puppers are still hanging in there, but losing some ground as the season drags on. 24/7 Racing in the third spot. Ooh, easy enough for me to say. Back Row Racing just 1 marker back, and then hanging back there about 30 points out of 4th is the Ballistic Union, still trying to keep touch with the top 4.
Sounds like an exciting team for sure. But for those of you who are new to this series or new to iRacing in general, let's go over some of the race details. We are on round 5 of 10 here for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. This is 115 laps or 60 minutes, whichever comes first. These drivers are running fixed setups, so they're all using the same setup and they can't adjust it no matter how much they try. And then they also have no fast repair, so that means they do not get an extra car like you've been seeing on some of the races that have been broadcast on television lately. They also have a 24 incident limit, so that means that they get points for every off-track and car contact that they make, and if they get 24 of those, they will be pulled straight off the track. So 100% fuel as well, so regular fuel amount in this truck, so we will see a pit stop tonight. All right, practice has just ended and qualifying is just starting to begin right now. We have a couple trucks out on track. Adam Young, Mike Richter, and Colton Lane are the first ones to jump out, trying to take times around here.
Yeah, you got to think maybe with the setup they have as far as the time at the track, maybe they might want to wait till later on to try to get a lap in when there's even less sunlight out there.
Yeah, that might be a good idea, but Adam Young's going to jump out there for some laps early. You can see just how loose that truck is as he goes into the corner. The thing just wants to come out from under you at every possible opportunity. He slides a little bit off the corner, but these trucks looking quite a bit to handle at this point. Adam Young's going to cross the line, and he's going to do a 21.9 to start his lap, so that is currently... Well, it was the top when I was starting that sentence, but now Jay Felton jumps up to the lead with a 21.735.
Yeah, laps coming in a little heavier than I expected here in the early runnings of this session.
Yeah, it looks like we have about 20 trucks out there right now, so that's quite a few. As Adam Young finishes his second lap, it's not better. It's a 22.063, so Jay Felton's second lap as well, not faster. So we're seeing the first lap be the quick one early on in this qualifying session. Ooh, Mark Kalin goes up to the top of the leaderboard. For those of you who are new to iRacing qualifying, this set of qualifying, they get 2 flying laps to try and set a qualifying time, and they have the whole track to themselves. They all do this at the same time. We could do that by having them in different instances of the server, so each of them gets to have their own track while they go around and try and set these qualifying times. It just reduces the amount of time we spend in qualifying and gets us to the racing faster. Daniel Knight at the top of the board with a 21.573.
And that's pretty much the biggest gap we've seen from anybody that's set quick time. He's got over a 10th on Mark Kalin there in second.
Yeah, quite a bit of time as we're seeing Adam Shane come across the line. He's just starting his first flying lap. The driver out of Carolina coming across there. Daniel Knight's going to pull off of his second lap, so he looks like he hit the outside wall actually. So Blaine Adams here coming across the line. 14th, and he's not going to improve his time. Richard Regan Jr., a quick driver from before, he jumps up to the 3rd spot with a 21.729. Here is the John Deere truck of Tristan Callahan coming around for his first lap. John LeBap as well for his first lap, so he's got a first lap coming in. Baron Hilton hasn't taken a lap either, so quite a few of these drivers did wait till that last minute, Chris.
Yeah, I kind of had a sneaking suspicion we might see that, and with the with the timeline that we're dealing with here as far as where we're at the track.
So Blaine Adams crosses the line. He had a 21.7, so he's not going to improve very much. Tristan Callahan with a 21.855. His second lap, once again, is slower. I don't think I've seen someone with their second lap be faster tonight, Chris.
Yeah, it seems kind of strange. Maybe he had an issue on his first lap, or maybe just nailed his marks a little bit better. Or if he's an iRacer like I am, Adam, it could just all be dumb luck, too.
It's definitely possible. One driver who we know it's not dumb luck for is Bradley Hawley. He just set his first lap. It was 21.696, which was good enough for second. So Bradley Hawley still going around the track, coming off a turn. He just finished his second lap, and it was not quicker, so he's going to be good for second with Daniel Knight currently on pole with 43 seconds left in the qualifying. Tristan Callahan looks like one of two trucks still left out there driving. Oh, actually, we have a couple more. We have Brett Adams, Barron Hilton, Aaron Webb still going through, so Brett Adams hit the wall a little bit coming off of that corner. Paul Williams coming off of the corner. He's also slow, so looks like that first lap really was the quick one for all these drivers. Barron Hilton coming through his second lap is going to be a 22.167, so that's only good enough for 25th place. And Blaine Adams, ooh, he hit the wall pretty hard there coming through. Paul Williams able to come through for his second lap.
It looks like 29 of the 33 drivers that have registered for this event have taken a time, as looks like qualifying is going to click down. Looks like the last four not making an attempt.
All right, so that leads us to the grid with Daniel Knight taking pole over Bradley Hawley. Quite a good turnout, a good qualifying for him for sure, with Mark Kalin starting off in the third position, with Richard Regan Jr., our newcomer this season, who's been putting on a good challenge for those front spots, starting off in fourth. Jay Felton's going to start off in fifth, with Ken Huber, our second place driver in the points, starting off in sixth. Paul Williams going to start off in seventh, with Mike Eames in eighth. Jose Tellez starting off in ninth position, followed by Mike Richter rounding out your top 10.
Qualifying just outside of the top 10 is James O'Brien in truck number 44, with Brandon Walker to his outside. Adam Zemke and Tristan Callahan will make up the next row, followed by Brendan Chatley and Colton Lane. Row number 9 is composed of Aaron Webb and Adam Young, and then Charles Sumner and Jared Mogard in the U truck round out the top 20.
P5 in the points is quite a ways down the field tonight, qualifying in 21st position. Thomas Sink has a long way to go. Adam Shane alongside him in 22nd, with John LaBaff on row 12 alongside Austin Hunter. Barron Hilton's going to start off in the 25th position, with Blaine Adams in 26th. Brett Adams is going to start off 27th, with Nicholas Hunter in 28th. Stacy Hunter and Dominic Magine round out your last two drivers in the 30th positions. We have Matthew Aubrey, J.R. Bash, who did not set qualifying times. All right, Chris, with the changing track conditions due to the setting sun and the loose conditions, are you expecting a lot of green flag racing tonight, or are you expecting a lot of caution?
Well, you see that beautiful pace truck sitting out there leading the field around right now. I'm trying to be optimistic, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that pace truck out in front of the field a few times. He very well could probably lead the most laps tonight if the racing is as competitive and action-packed as we expect.
Well, we'll keep our eyes peeled for any wreck that happened during the race. We'll do our best to try and get them to you. Daniel Knight is going to lead them to the flag as our wonderful iRacing pace truck is leading them around the field. They've decided to park the Porsche tonight and move back to the pace truck, so great to see that out there. Bradley Hawley starting off the second position. If he can get a good start on the outside, he's going to have a great opportunity for a jump into the lead very shortly. So it looks like they're going to do 2 laps around to get us started. Chris, if you are Thomas Sink down in the 21st position and you're battling for some points, what's your best strategy? Do you want to be super aggressive on the start? Is track position really that important around Richmond?
I mean, with it being a shorter track, I think track position will play a pretty big role, but I think you got to attack it early and get as many spots as you can when everybody's close and bunched up together. You got to also play smart and keep your head on a swivel. Make sure to not get caught up in anyone else's mess, which is a very big possibility on a track this small. And otherwise, keep your nose clean and just keep marching forward.
Daniel Knight will lead them to the flag with Bradley Hawley outside him. Mark Kalen's lining up behind Daniel Knight with Richard Regan Jr. lining up behind Bradley Hawley. The pace truck pulls off rather, and Daniel Knight waits to go. Waits quite a while, still waiting, and now he gets on the throttle. Bradley Hawley, however, got a great start on the outside with Mark Kalen and Richard Regan falling back a little bit. Bradley Hawley's going to try and make a pass on the outside, but he has to back off and slips in the line behind Daniel Knight.
I was a little surprised that Bradley Hawley got off to such a rough start, so to speak. Right now, a battle on for third between Kalen and Regan.
Yeah, and Richard Regan Jr. on the outside there got extremely loose coming across the line. So you got to remember that this straightaway, the front straight, really does curve a little bit. So these drivers, if they're loose coming off the floor, they have a tendency to try and spin the tires all the way down that front straight. So some of these drivers are going to have to be very careful watching for that. Still green as they enter lap 3.
Yeah, maybe this is just a perception thing on my side, but I feel like being a tri-oval, I feel like Richmond's curvature on the front straightaway is a little more severe than we see at some of the other tracks with a similar configuration.
The top 13 have all single filed out all the way back to Brendan Chatley in the 16th and 17th position. Brendan stuck on the outside there. So all these drivers realizing how loose the set is, being very cautious in the early stage of this race, and Daniel Knight actually pulling about half a second lead.
Yeah, you can just see as these cars come off these trucks come off the corner that they are not very happy handling wise. They just look nervous, twitchy, like they're being interrogated. You know, just very rear end happy, and looks like they're probably not the most fun to drive right now.
No, not at all. We're seeing drivers getting up off the groove, drivers really struggling right now. This front pack is making things look good, but back in the mid pack, getting a little bit further back into the pack right now. We're taking a look right now at a couple of the drivers. This is about 15th on back. And that's Jared Mogart on the low side underneath Tristan Callahan. Go ahead, Chris.
I was actually going to comment on that same battle. Looks like Mogart's going to have the better drive off of turn 2, and they'll have almost cleared of Callahan as they get into turn number 3, and that's going to also open the door for Aaron Webb to stick his nose in there for a second as well.
Unfortunately unable to get a good drive off the corner, so he's going to have to wait a couple more corners, and just ahead of them, Colton Lane making a pass on Mike Richter for the 13th position. This is where most of the action is, and most of the drivers up front are still staying single file. Mogart down to the low side underneath Mike Richter. Mike Richter's going to go try and get to the apex, but Jared Mogart's going to stick his nose in there. They make contact. Mike Richter trying to save the truck. He's going to manage to do that. Tristan Callahan going by on the inside. That's going to make Mike Richter fall quite a few spots. Mike managing to recompose himself. He's going to keep going. Let's go take a replay of this, because this is the kind of danger you're going to see around here tonight, Chris.
We're going to hop on board here with Mike Richter. Watch his hands there. I mean, just having to steer into that so bad. And we commented on it multiple times how the setup here, for whatever reason, is just making these trucks incredibly loose, and they are a handful to drive right now.
So an update on your top 5. Daniel Knight still leads Bradley Hawley about 3/4 of a second back. Richard Regan Jr. managed to get past Mark Kalen. It was a very clean pass, very easy pass.
Yeah, you almost have to wonder if Holly might be trying to save something here, maybe for a little bit later on in the run. All right, so as you can see, we're following along with our leader, Daniel Knight, and just look at that great line of trucks. I'm going to assume these drivers were well aware of the fact that this was not a very truck-friendly setup, so they are all taking their time here and being a little bit careful. The first real battle shaping up on the track right now is for the 4th position. You have Mark Kalen in the 62 trying to fend off a charge. from Jay Felton in truck number 5. Great shot of the GSRC logo on the tailgate there. Gotta love the product placement. So now Kalen is going to have a bumper full of Felton as they head down the back straightaway. Felton now looks to the inside. He's going to make a move here going into turn number 3. And Kalen gives him plenty of room. We're still pretty early into the run, just completing lap 15 right now. As such, these drivers not putting up as big of a fight as they will probably later on, taking their time, being very careful around the track. And now Kalen beginning to fall back into the clutches of Paul Williams II in truck number 7. We're going to hop on board here with Paul as we once again see a great look at that GSRC logo. It's almost like our director is trying to advertise our company on our own stream. But nonetheless, Williams not gaining as much ground as I thought it was going to be as he was setting him up the previous lap, losing a little bit of ground off turn 4. Ooh, and you have Kalen tagging the outside wall. You can see the sparks there from the onboard camera. So tough break for Kalen, but it doesn't look like it's going to slow him down too much. Might maybe mess up the cosmetics a little bit, but we are looking like we're in pretty good shape here. Hopping back through the field a little bit, you have Adam Zemke in truck number 42 now having to fend off the charge. Mike Eames in that John Deere green truck. I always get that one mixed up. On the back of the 42 is Zemke, and he has Brandon Walter right on his tailgate as well. So we have about 4 trucks there within a half second battling for that final top 10 position. You can see a look in the eye, not even blinking, he's so focused. And maybe not enough partaking in the John beers. Or maybe too much. I don't know if I've ever drank enough I stopped blinking, but I imagine that's probably a thing. Nonetheless, we will continue on looking at this great battle as Eames once again took a quick peek to the inside of Zemke, but Zemke not letting him through. Pretty solid battle we have going there. And the 99 of Walter going to take a look. These guys all shuffling around a little bit on the backstretch, trying to find the quick way around. Looks like Bradley Holly in the 184 beginning to make up a little bit of ground. Of course, as I say that, he drops about a tenth further back. Announcer's curse, but Daniel Knight is managing this race very well. Looks like the battle is really shaping up for second place right now. Richard Regan Jr. in the 46. Not hanging too far back from Bradley Holly. You do have to wonder, though, with Holly's great ability to manage a race, as we've seen the last 2 weeks with his victories, he could just be maybe laying back a little bit and trying to save up some. So he's, ooh, and as I say that, he actually tags the outside wall there coming off of turn 4, looking to be a bit of a trouble zone for these drivers. So Holly now losing, or going about a second behind Knight right now. Richard Regan Jr. in 3rd and Jay Felton in 4th, not getting too far back from the back bumper of Holly. Looks like we have a battle going on right now back around the 14th position between the 77 of Tristan Callahan, the 00 Jared Mogard. Callahan just got to the inside of Mogard, but Mogard has been doing a pretty solid job hanging in that outside line. We haven't really seen it be too active yet, but it looks like Callahan's going to complete the pass. Now Mogard looking to regroup as he runs in the 15th position now. Yeah, and how about that? You can actually hear him shifting through the corner, so maybe an interesting use trying to make use of that transmission to help slow him down a little bit. So Jared Mogard losing some ground, but will look to regroup in that ooh truck. So we're gonna head up. Got a battle shaping up now for that second spot. Well, it's been in the way of shaping up here for a while. Bradley Holly with about 2 truck lengths on the 46 of Richard Regan Jr., who does not have much breathing room with the 5 of Jay Felton running right behind him. Felton has been bad fast today and is just looking for somewhere to go. So now about 1 1/4 second advantage for Daniel Knight as we watch this battle for third spot still going on. Felton trying to run maybe a little bit of a contrary entrance into turn number 1 on the 46 of Regan. And you can just see that beautiful scenery here at Richmond Raceway. The iRacing service was very prompt on getting the update to the track loaded onto the service. They did a really great redesign here at the Speedway over the last couple years, and it really shows here on this redo of the track. And Regan gains a lot of ground. Oh, and as I say that, he gets hard into the outside wall. That's going to allow Felton to get past. We're going to take a quick look back. And we're going to have the onboard here. Regan coming off of turn 4 and just slipped away from him, got sucked up into that wall and was not able to get himself away in time. So now he gives up the third spot to Jay Felton, who once again has just been on a rail tonight. Just running very strong, and now he'll get a chance to try to run down your second place truck, Bradley Holly, in the 184. So Richard Regan Jr., you can see the side of that 46 truck, all kinds of scraped up. You can see the line they run off of turn 4 is right up against that outside wall, and unfortunately when these drivers flirt with disaster like that, it's very easy to go over the edge and unfortunately end up in some trouble, as we saw with Regan there, who's not only dropped back but lost a considerable amount of ground, as it looks like Felton now is beginning to work on Bradley Holly for the runner-up position. He was looking to the inside going through 3 and 4 that last lap through, but it looks like Holly's so far been able to defend the position. So as you can see, we're keeping an eye on Richard Regan Jr., who went through, was one of the fastest trucks on the track, and now unfortunately hit a little bit of a rough skid there. Now we have a battle shaping up around the 6th spot. Jose Tellez getting around Mark Kalin. Kalin's been pretty quick today too, as he's got the 44 James O'Brien right behind him. Just a gaggle of trucks here in this battle, as Tellez beginning to put a little bit of distance on Kalin. But O'Brien in the 44 is now all over Kalin's tailgate. And you can't count out the 36 of Mike Eames, who has made a pretty solid march up through the field after losing some ground early on. And there you go, O'Brien gets to the inside and completes the pass off the corner there, and that almost opened the door for Eames to make the move as well. Looks like he's going to be hanging back here for just another lap, but Mark Kalin may be in just a smidge of trouble now, as he seems to be losing some ground. It looks like a bottleneck there behind Kalin, as he has about 5 trucks right in line behind him. As once again, looks like the handling, or possibly even the tires, beginning to drop off for him. We are on lap 38 right now of this run. Caution free thus far, as you see Eames now looking to the inside of Kalin. Eames going to pull even with him heading into turn number 3. And with the loose setup, it's been pretty dicey out there to do much side-by-side racing, but nonetheless Eames completes the pass, and now it looks like the 99 of Brandon Walter going to follow him through and complete the pass before they're even through the corner. So it looks like things are beginning to get desperate for Mark Kalin. He started 3rd on the grid, and he's already in the back of the top 10 here as we begin lap number 40. So possibly the warning signal going up right now for Kalen in the 62. Now looks like the 44 of O'Brien and the 24 of Jose Tellez beginning to go to work for that 6th position. Those two trucks have been on a pretty positive trajectory through the field so far in the early runnings of this event. And it looks like O'Brien so far just hanging back and content to follow Tellez as they run on the track right now. And they are beginning to actually make up a little bit of ground on the 7 truck of Paul Williams II. So this could be very quickly the battle to break into the top 5. Daniel Knight still on top right now, almost a 2-second advantage over Bradley Holly when we look back through the field as we head down the back straightaway here at virtual Richmond Raceway. Jay Felton, a little bit surprised he's not putting more pressure on Holly here during this stage of the run. We're going to jump on board of that number 5 truck, looking forward from the freight or the bed rail of that truck, and you can see just the slight difference in line that he's running with Bradley Holly, their approach around the 3/4 mile short track. And just a very minute difference between where they're running on the track, but these are two very fast trucks tonight, and not that I'm doubting the speed of Daniel Knight at all, but you got to think that Holly and Felton not applying more pressure at this point in the race. You got to think maybe they're just trying to stretch things out towards the end. And it looks like they're working around a lapped truck right now. It's actually the 95 of Matthew Aubrey. That was the most recent truck to go a lap down. Jumping a little bit further back, the field is taking a look at that 13th position. The 48 of Thomas Sink just getting past Zemke as Zemke now heads down pit road. So we could see, I believe this will be the start of green flag pit stops. And this is on lap 47, so we'll see how this shakes out with Zemke heading to pit road. So green flag pit stops beginning to be underway. As expected, tires going on the 42 machine. And looks like a pretty clean stop. So we'll see if this maybe starts shuffling the deck here a little bit and we maybe see more trucks approaching. Got a battle shaping up once again for that second spot. Jay Felton now beginning to apply that pressure to the 184 of Bradley Holly. Ooh, and he gets very close to the tailgate on the 184. And is that a Wild Christian that just appeared?
That is indeed.
Well, Christian joining me in the booth here. Great to have you on board. Unfortunately, Adam having some technical issues, had to duck out. So thanks for bailing me out here, Christian.
Yeah, no worries at all. I've seen a lot of these guys race in the Cup Series that we cover on Sunday, so interesting to see them in a little bit of a different car tonight. But most of the same names and most of the similar style of racing with the truck as you see in the Cup car.
Same clowns, different circus. All right, we're going to take a look back at the 7th position as they're running on the track right now. James O'Brien and Mike Eames, these drivers have been duking it out here probably the last, I'd say about 10-15 laps at this point, Christian. Traded this position a couple times back and forth. And looks like right now Eames has the advantage, but O'Brien looking to take the spot away.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to pass around here. Pretty one-lane racetrack, and obviously that does mean when you have one guy who's a little bit slower than the guys behind, it does create a little bit of a line effect, and it's equally difficult for the cars trying to make the passes to not lose spots themselves. And we see 44 of O'Brien looks like he's just a little bit slow coming off a 2 there. Looks like Ames has got a bit of a run on him.
And of course I got my double-digit vehicles mixed up. That's Walter behind him and O'Brien in front of Eames. Numbers are hard.
Just a little bit ahead of this group, we got Jose Tellez. Looks like Paul Williams is maybe starting to make a little bit of ground on him as he gets a little bit tight off a 2 there and just catches the wall, but not too badly.
Now, Christian, you mentioned that you usually call out of these same drivers in the Cup Series. Can you speak to maybe some of the differences these drivers experience between the Cup cars and the NASCAR trucks?
Well, when it comes to the Cup car, especially on the short tracks, you're very, very rear limited. As we see, lapped car really causes some issues there for these guys. Looks like we've got James O'Brien's coming down to pit road.
Looks like that with James O'Brien heading down pit road. We just had our first lead lap truck head to pit road not that long ago, and I'm surprised we haven't seen more takers here in the following actually been close to 10 laps since that first stop. But you see Jared Mogard heading to pit road. Hashtag for the pit lizards, always one of our favorites here.
That's a great truck. I haven't seen that yet, but that's an awesome paint scheme he's got there, and it's an interesting decision to come down perhaps a little bit earlier than some of the other guys on the lead lap, but it does make sense, especially with how hard it is to pass around here. If you think you've got a bit of a pace advantage, it's a good play to go for the track position because it is much easier to defend than it is to attack. And the only downside is that obviously you can get caught by a caution quite easily.
Yeah, and really I feel like we're playing with fire. We're 58 laps in, no cautions, so these drivers unfortunately have really no choice but to pit at this point. But gosh, you got to think that just one truck getting a little bit out of shape can play a huge role in how the rest of their race goes.
Yeah, exactly, and you do not want to get trapped a lap down at this track, and you especially don't want to end up losing out, say, 10 positions on a pit cycle just because you pitted early and the yellow came out. It'll take you so long to get that track position back. Though these trucks with newer tires are extremely quick right now, and you just see Paul Williams there still staying out in the 8th spot, getting past a couple of these guys.
Yeah, looks like we're getting our leader, Daniel Knight, amongst one of many heading to pit road right now.
And this is an interesting tactic that you can sort of force as well. Some of the guys who came down earlier, obviously the cars that were still out there, some of the guys closer to the lead, they are sort of forced to pit as well because you can't afford to give up that track position. You can't stick to your strategy rigidly if you see other cars coming down. So there is a little bit of a risk reduction, so to speak, for those guys who short pitted.
Now, do you think, we're in the twilight point of the day where the sun's setting. It's significantly darker now than it was at the start of the race. Do you think that mixed with fresh tires could make the trucks quick enough to maybe make the pit stops a little more needed with the amount of time you're going to give up on the worn-out tires?
Well, I'm not entirely sure as to what the fuel mileage is in the truck, but I do know that this would be quite tight to do in say the Cup Series. So I imagine these guys are a little bit close when it comes to fuel, and I definitely think tire-wise, what you tend to see at this track is in the day it's very, very slippery. There's not a lot of grip at all, and the other thing is that the rubber going down as the race goes on, it increases the grip on the track immensely. So the colder temperatures plus the rubber, it's gonna mean that this second run they're gonna wear the tires much less, and it does mean that some of the guys who maybe struggled in the first run with a little bit of, especially with rear grip, are not going to struggle as much as we get into the night.
We can see our current leader Colton Lane now heading to pit road in that Waterback Racing machine. So that's going to hand the lead over as they run to Mark Kalin. We'll take a look at him on track. Daniel Knight, who was our leader when the pit cycle began, he's currently in the 9th position. as we see Kalen now heading to pit road and just about getting everything cycled through at this point. Just a mutant handful of trucks left to pit.
Current leader is Paul Williams, and he is one of the guys who regularly in the Cup Series tends to do a little bit of a different strategy to everybody else out there. So it doesn't surprise me at all that we're seeing him still out on track, but he does look like he's struggling quite a bit right now. And just looking at who was our pass leader before the pit stop, Daniel Knight has been very, very quick, and obviously he's already back on the lead lap, so all the risk regarding cautions for him is now gone.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think if everyone else is doing one strategy, the best way to beat them is to do something else. I mean, that's going to be your best bet at least.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Especially if there is a scenario where you know that you don't have the pace, you just have to try something different. And sometimes, I'd say it again in the Cup Series, we've seen it work out quite well for Paul Williams, but this is another opportunity where if a yellow does come out for him, say in the next 5 to 10 laps, he's going to be in a very commanding position.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, not only will he have significantly fresher tires than the rest of the crowd, but he won't fall a lap down like we've seen a lot of these guys deal with being under caution as well, or being under pit stops as well.
And some of our other drivers who also pitted are still in quite a dangerous position. We see Jay Felton is now the last car on the lead lap. James O'Brien, another driver we saw come down pit road, he's currently in the lucky dog spot. But then we have a whole host of drivers who is just one lap down right now, all the way from 13th down to, I think, 23rd place. So all those drivers are going to want to get around Paul Williams as fast as they can to get back on that lead lap.
Yes, I mean, really, when you think about it, that the threat of a caution is probably even more dire for those trucks than it is for Williams. As we see Daniel Knight still, I'd say the provisional leader once we see pit stops shake out. But Bradley Holly still not letting them get too far away.
We've seen Holly be one of the fastest drivers in the Cup Series, and obviously so Daniel Knight had quite an advantage before that pit stop, but Holly's pressuring him quite heavily right now. Just looks like he's got a little bit more center roll, especially through 1 and 2 right there. But does look like he's leaning on his rear tires just a little bit more. You saw that coming off the corner, he had the wheel really, really straight, and then again the entry to 3, just kind of soaring on it just a little bit, whereas Knight's truck looks a lot more stable. So wouldn't surprise me if Knight was trying to save a little bit of tire here whilst he's still the de facto leader, and unless Holly can make a pass on him, I think he's in a great position.
Well, Christian, it sounds like Adam has punched his computer and literally elbow dropped the internet to get his technical gremlins taken care of. So, Adam, welcome back.
Had a nice workout there. Looks like Austin Hunter missed his box coming into the pit road, so this has been an intense green flag race for quite a while here. Austin Hunter trying to get that pit stop in, but as you guys mentioned, Daniel Knight really holding his own against Bradley Holly, even with the newer tires for Bradley.
Yeah, it's a very impressive drive by Daniel Knight, and I feel like I may have somewhat slighted just how great of a race he was running. I mean, he's kept Bradley Holly behind him for 75 laps now at this point, and that is no small task in these trucks.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, Christian, you got Paul Williams and Brendan Chatley who are currently leading, and they've got quite a few lap trucks between them and Daniel Knight and Bradley Holly who are trying to catch up there. So as long as it goes green, this is good for Daniel Knight and Bradley Holly, but Paul Williams and Brendan Chatley looking for that caution for sure.
Yeah, you see Paul Williams just going through turn 1 and 2 now. He is so slow. He's got absolutely no rotation compared with all the trucks that are pit, and he's losing just under about a second a lap. So really, he's got about 10 laps right here before this strategy starts to really, really go against him.
Absolutely, really struggling there. Hanging to the outside, letting those faster trucks go by on the inside. Definitely the sportsmanship play. But man, this truck really has to be a handful at this point, Chris.
Yeah, see right there, he tried to turn into 3 and just nothing happened, and it's the worst feeling in the world because, but it's worked out for him right there because the caution is out.
Oh boy, things are about to get spicy. So the caution is out with Paul Williams leading, Brendan Chatley in second, Daniel Knight in third and Bradley Hawley in fourth. But Daniel Knight and Bradley Hawley pitted quite a few laps ago, so they're probably going to have to come in and get tires to stay competitive, gentlemen.
It's a perfect scenario for Paul Williams, because those drivers ran long enough that they're going to want to come down and pit.
Wow, this is just a great turn of events for the 7 truck.
Oh, and it's going to be Adam Young actually Adam Young actually ends up getting spun by the 109 truck of Nicholas Hunter. There it is on your screen right there, and this was due to, man, this actually was not the cause. Nicholas Hunter was not the cause of this. It was actually an early braking point from Brendan Chatley ahead of them. You're going to see it right here. It was the 59 truck of Brendan Chatley who ended up, and he was in second place, so that was because of the speed difference from the pitters to the non-pitters.
You see Chatley coming down into 3 and obviously just caught him out. Chatley's so much slower right now, almost that full second a lap, and it just catches you out. And it's an unfortunate slide of the pit box there for the 17 as well.
That's going to be a tough break for Daniel Knight, who's for the most part been the dominant truck all day, sliding through his pit box, and you see Paul Williams there drive right past.
So Paul Williams drives past. Look at this, a tight race coming off of pit road right behind them as well. So yeah, so this is definitely going to shake up the standings a little bit, and that's going to put Bradley Hawley all the way back to the 4th position. That is if Mike Richter decides to pit again, which I believe he's coming in now. So yeah, so this is going to put Bradley Hawley even further from the lead that he's been pursuing, and Daniel Knight is going to be on that second row, guys.
Well, this could not have worked out better for Williams and Chatley.
Yeah, and this was obviously a high-risk strategy for those guys to stay out, and as I was saying, it would have only taken about 8 to 9 more laps before it was going to start reversing and going in favor of the drivers who'd pit. But I'd just like to say, if Paul Williams watches this broadcast back, I'd like to make a request to borrow his crystal ball, because he gets these calls right every single time. I just want it on a Tuesday night every 2 weeks. That would be fine if he's willing to do that.
Yeah, and Paul Williams, he does get these strategies right more often than not. We saw it a bunch last season where he got one of his first wins here in the truck series. So Paul Williams, really good at predicting this. But as we are under our first caution, as they run, it is Paul Williams in first with Brendan Chatley in second, Daniel Knight in third, Bradley Hawley fourth, and Richard Regan rounding out your top 5. So Richard Regan Jr., he fell back quite a ways, but he's got a good opportunity to get back up there and try and challenge all of these gentlemen for the lead. All right, going down the line, Chris Phoebe, what do you expect going into this restart? Do you think it's going to be calm, or do you think they're going to be going for it?
Well, with the amount of laps we have left, the pay window's opening up, and I think we're about to see some elbows go up.
All right, Christian, same question to you. Do you agree with Chris that things are going to get a little dicey here?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is the point now where obviously this is the first yellow of the race, and it's so late on, 82 out of 115. I think there's no choice but for everybody to start getting aggressive, and I expect that we'll see a lot of moves going down in a 1, and I think a driver that's in maybe a little bit of a disadvantaged scenario right now is Bradley Hawley, 4th place, 2nd row on the outside. He's definitely going to be under threat from Regan Jr. on the inside in 5th. I think Daniel Knight's got a good spot though, being in 3rd. He might have an opportunity to sneak under Chatley into turn 1 and take that 2nd spot.
So as they get ready to go for Paul Williams there on the inside with Brendan Chatley lined up outside of him, Daniel Knight, like you said, stacked in behind him, and Bradley Hawley stuck on the outside. All right, folks, as we get ready to go on the green flag, we're going to do a little bit of a turn it up here. Here we go, green flag racing, turn it up. fast these trucks going around here. Paul Williams currently leading over Daniel Knight, who's really pressing the advantage very hard, trying to get under Paul Williams there. Brendan Chatley back in third. He's starting to struggle a little bit. Richard Regan Jr. looking to the inside here as they go into 1 and 2 with Bradley Hawley looking on. Still
Hawley
side by
trying to
side. Yeah,
push Regan Jr. forwards right there just to get underneath Chatley. Sounds like somebody's having an issue in the back.
looks like we've got a battle for the lead going on, and the yellow flag is out. That is, I believe it was Tristan Callahan that went around. Yes, it was. So Tristan Callahan just entering the 24 truck actually gets underneath him here. You're going to see that right there, and that sends him up towards the top of the corner there. He manages to keep it out of the wall, though.
Big loss of track position, but obviously no damage, so the best of a bad scenario right there for him.
We go on board with Matthew Aubrey as he's going to watch this happen up ahead of him. Look how close he gets. Just waiting to the last minute, dodging to the outside. Very good move from him.
Yeah, that was quite a pucker moment there for Aubrey.
That's when you're hoping the butt kicker doesn't kick in, making sure that you avoid that contact. All right, a couple of people have come into the pits. They're further back in the line, though. They're about 18th on back. This is Aaron Webb, Charles Sumner, and Austin Hunter who've come into the pits. So as we run, we're heading towards lap 89. We've got still a decent amount of laps left, but they're going to crack off pretty quick here as we get back to the restart.
And this is nothing but good news for Paul Williams in the 7 truck. I mean, he's got a couple heavy hitters that are going to be right behind him once this race gets back underway.
Yeah, and Christian, I noticed that Brendan Chatley seemed to be dealing with the looseness differently than the other truck drivers. The other truck drivers are driving it very hard on the exit of the corner and really burning up that right rear, whereas Brendan Chatley, he's dropped back a couple positions, but he keeps trying to keep that truck straight. Is that a different strategy to try and save tires here?
Yeah, that kind of comes down to how you feel as a driver and how confident you are dealing with the looseness, so to speak. I've always found that it's everybody visually struggles with the drive off of the corners here, but for me personally, I've always found that it's actually the entry of the corner that's the most difficult. And what you'll tend to see is if drivers are really struggling with the loose on entry, they'll enter the corner quite a bit lower, and that does snug the car or the truck up, and in this case just a little bit more, and gives you a little bit more stability. But what it does mean with the lower entries is that you kind of have a little bit less center roll speed, and obviously drivers behind you, with this being fixed setup, if a driver can enter higher, especially in a 1, they'll carry a lot more speed than you, and it'll give them much better exit speed, and they'll be able to maybe pull a move on you going into turn 3. And just looking at that restart, one thing I noticed was that Paul Williams, he really drove it off into the corner, and he actually nearly made himself vulnerable going down into turn 3, because he was in the second lane going through 1 and 2, and I think we'll see this time he'll pull it up a lot sooner. But his best scenario right here would be to do something where he holds the restart for quite a while to make sure that Richard Regan Jr. can be underneath Daniel Knight going into turn 1, because at this racetrack, if you're 2x2, it really slows you down just because of that center roll speed and not being able to get back to the gas as much. So that's a way to build a gap if you're the leader, is to hold the restart for quite a while, get second and third side by side through turns 1 and 2.
Speaking of 2x2, they have gone 2x2 now. We have Paul Williams in the lead with Daniel Knight lined up on his outside. Richard Regan Jr. lined up behind Paul Williams with Brendan Chatley stacked in behind Richard Regan. Then we have Bradley Hawley in 5th with James O'Brien outside of him for the 6th position. Those are your front 3 rows as we get ready to go back ring here following the iRacing pace truck around Richmond Motor Speedway here at the Precision Racing League Truck Series. The pace car is off. Paul Williams getting ready to go the restart. He takes it early this time and catches Daniel Knight out. This is going to allow Richard Regan Jr. to get to that bottom left-hand bumper there as Bradley Hawley stacks it behind him. Looks like Daniel Knight tried to cut off Richard Regan Jr., unable to do so. Richard Regan with the inside.
Couldn't have worked out any better right there for Paul Williams. He got exactly what he needed to do. Second and third side by side. It's going to allow him to build a bit of a gap. Obviously, Daniel Knight was very aggressive trying to cut down to the bottom, but not able to do it without, as we see, a yellow in the back of the pack.
Looks like it was Mike Richter who spun around on the front stretch.
He has some very nice pirouettes, actually, down the front straight.
It looks like he got collected by Tristan Callahan. So another caution. This is our third caution after not having a single caution for the first 70 laps of the race. So very challenging incidents here for everybody involved. So Mike Richter was the cause of that one back in the 51 train. All right, Chris. So as we get on with these cautions, do you ever consider coming back into the pits if we keep having these reoccurring cautions go on?
You know, I really think it's going to depend on how many laps we're able to get in under green flag in the next 1 or 2 cautions, and I think it's going to depend on what the leader does. I think if we're looking pretty solid up front, then maybe head down pit road, grab some tires if you're towards the back part of the top 5, top 10. Grab tires, give it a shot at the end.
And for those of you who have been wondering about Thomas Sink, our 5th place driver in the points, he is all the way back in 13th position after starting in 21st. So he's climbed his way forward quite a bit, but not without incident. He has some right side damage, much like many of these trucks do. So he's trying to climb his way up, but that qualifying position of 21st has really come back to bite him.
Yeah, this was probably not one of the tracks where you want to have a rough qualifying run, and unfortunately for him, he did. But it's, you know, on the path to a championship, the biggest thing is maximizing your bad days, and he's made up quite a few positions here.
All right, Christian, you're Daniel Knight, and you saw how Paul Williams got a great jump on you, and that made you vulnerable to Richard Regan Jr. What do you do differently for this restart?
Honestly, all he can really do is he can try and time it as best he can with Paul Williams, and he was so close to being clear on that last time, but just not enough to commit to pulling down across the nose of Richard Regan Jr. right there. So I think we'll see a similar approach this time. That said, if he can't get down and clear himself by the time he gets down in turn 1, what he can try and do is he can try and run a little bit higher going into turn 1, so that he can really arc the exit and then hopefully slot into a gap between the 7 and the 46. But he's in a bind here. He's in one of the worst positions to be, and the best thing that can happen for him, honestly, is for Richard Regan Jr. to be kind of sleeping on the restart and just leave that hole open for him.
So an update on Brendan Chatley has fallen back another position down to 6th place, with Jared Mogart taking up that 5th position. So after battling very hard early on in the race, he's up to 5th now. This is getting down into the later stages of the race. At this point, is there a second line that's developing on the outside, Chris, or is it really just the first line that you expect drivers to be preferring at this point?
I definitely think the inside line is going to be the one that's going to be preferred, but we have seen a couple drivers take to that outside groove a couple times. You might see it a little more here in the ending laps, that they might get a little more adventurous and maybe give it a shot, but from what I can tell, it looks like the bottom group is going to be the one to focus on.
So as the lights go off on the pace truck, we get ready for the restart. Paul Williams will lead them to the line with Daniel Knight on his outside, Richard Regan Jr. in 3rd, Bradley Hawley in 4th, Jared Mogart 5th, Brendan Chatley having fallen back to 6th place with James O'Brien in 7th. Josue Tellez runs 8th place after coming in for a pit stop, with Jay Felton in 9th and Adam Zenke in 10th place. So as we get ready to get going, we have a lot of heavy hitters up at the front and a decent amount of aggressive drivers as well. Expect that 184 truck on the outside line, 2nd row, to be very strong here as we get going. All right, the pace truck is going to pull off, and that allows Paul Williams. He jumps immediately after the pace truck goes off. This catches Daniel Knight by surprise again. Rinse and repeat of last time. Richard Regan Jr. trying to get there, and he's going to lose out to Daniel Knight this time. Richard Regan gets into the back of him as they go through one, and now Daniel Knight is around. They split to try and avoid him, and he's going to collect a couple of other trucks. Another caution is out.
And that's the risk right there. If you go down to cut that off, is that that's what will happen to you. Obviously, he was clear. He was only just clear. And I don't think Regan Jr. was too happy about that. And obviously tried to push him up the racetrack going through 1 and 2. And instead of pushing him up to the second lane, instead just looped him around. And that is something we do see a lot of at Richmond. And especially if it happens at the front of the field, it does tend to catch a lot of people with it.
And that's one of our top trucks of the night that's going to have to deal with that too as we head on board with the 184 of Bradley Holly as his view of the incident. And a great move to avoid that one.
Yeah, and it looks like Daniel Knight might have been able to catch it if he didn't get clipped by another truck just before he was able to save it there. So Daniel Knight, with a decent amount of damage, he's going to fall back quite a ways. All the way back to 23rd. So, under our 4th caution of the night, we are running out of laps, folks. We are on lap 101 of 115. Still looking like we're going to be able to make it under the time limit with the amount of cautions that we've had. So, things are only going to turn up the heat more.
Yeah, it's not too surprising with how
Oh, we've had an incident under caution. Thomas Sink has gone around. This is very interesting. It looked like... This is very odd. So you'll see Thomas Sink here dive to the left, and then he gets collected by one of the rescue racing trucks and collects even more collisions. This looks like a hardware incident for him, possibly.
Yeah, that was a pretty abrupt cut to the left. Something must have gone on there.
Yeah, it looked like it either was a hardware issue or that he saw the Lucky Dog car coming to his top side and just kind of panicked and cut down to get out of the way, and unfortunately looped himself across the nose of another truck.
So that does not put him down very far. It looks like everyone was able to recover their positions a little bit. Looks like Thomas Sink is back to the 10th position with Rob Haynes ahead of him now, so he lost a couple of positions there, but hopefully everyone's trucks are okay. This just adds to Thomas Sink's right side damage, but very interesting incidents to happen under caution. We do not usually have those.
Yeah, I'm going to chalk that up as one of the weirder incidents I've seen on the iRacing service.
So as we get ready to get going, one driver I've been keeping my eyes on is Jared Mogart. He made up yet another position on that restart and is up to 3rd ahead of Bradley Holly. So Jared Mogart has been rising to the top here in these last couple of laps.
Well, I guess if there is a best time to peak, it'd be this point of the night.
Yeah, he's definitely had a difficult starting position, but as they go double file, we have Paul Williams leading Richard Regan Jr. now to the outside after Daniel Knight got spun. Jared Mogart is to 3rd with Bradley Holly still lined up, 2nd row outside. With Brendan Chatley now in 5th, James O'Brien 6th, Josue Telez lining up in 7th place, Jay Felton in 8th, Rob Haynes runs in 9th, and Thomas Sink up 2 more positions, up to 10th position, even after that spin under caution. So as they get ready to get going, Paul Williams leads them to the line again. Can he surprise Richard Regan Jr. as well as he surprised Daniel Knight? Here we go. His truck pulls off, and look at that. Paul Williams waits, and now he goes. He does catch Richard Regan by surprise, but Jared Mogart unable to get a good start. Bradley Hall's going to try and push him into 1 and 2 here. But looks like, oh yes, Jared Mogart does get to the bottom side. Richard Regan gives him the room. Bradley Holly following Richard Regan through is going to push him through on the bottom side. Richard Regan rather stuck on the high side with Jared Mogart getting pushed through the 2nd place. Paul Williams starting to pull a little bit of a gap here, but Bradley Holly now there on the low side. He's going to try and dive it down to the inside of Jared Mogart. Jared Mogart takes it very deep into 1 and 2.
Mogart with a good run off of 2 right there is going to be clear into 3, and that right there with Regan Jr. getting stuck on the top side is exactly what we saw on the previous restart that Daniel Knight was trying to avoid happening to him, and that's why he was so aggressive getting the bottom. As we see, looks like Holly's got underneath.
Oh, very tight between those two. Jared Mogard trying to cut off Bradley Holly and does affect his momentum, but now we've got a wreck. Blaine Adams is wrecked on the front stretch and quite a few trucks are involved. The 911 truck as well. We have a blown engine. Looks like the 62 of Mark Kalin blew his engine there, so we're going to start here with John LaBaff. We're going to watch him as he comes off of green 4. Ooh, looks like the incident happened ahead of him is the 36 truck, the John Beer truck that got involved, and then a second incident happened with the 85, so we're going to see what happened with the 36. Here we go.
This almost looked like probably four different incidences that all kind of wrapped together there as you see Eames go around, and then just kind of collateral damage there around him as other trucks just get caught up in the mix.
The 85 of Aaron Webb looks like he lost the ability to keep that truck going in a straight line when he hit the outside wall, and that's why he came down across the rest of the circuit. So the 85 truck really nothing he could do there at that moment.
A little bit loose, and the 36 was just underneath him, and obviously the 36 straightened up the 85 for a moment or two, but sent the 36 into his own spin, and everybody else behind. It's so difficult to avoid when it happens on the front stretch here because everybody's struggling with traction anyway. It's quite an interesting front stretch. It's not straight at all. It's just a shallow curve, but it does mean that you're in less control along the front stretch here than you are at other tracks, and it makes avoiding wrecks very, very difficult.
All right, Christian. Caution came out on lap 108 of 115. When do you think we'll be going? You think it's going to be 2 laps, 3 laps?
I think we might see the restart on about 112, so perhaps four laps or so under green to end this.
All right, Chris. You're Jared Mogard. You've made up one position on every caution that we've had so far. What do you do to beat Paul Williams off of the line?
Well, I've seen Jared Mogard race quite a few times, and he's pretty good on these restarts, and just kind of knowing his nature behind the wheel, I think we're just going to see him send it and hope for the best.
Do you expect another incident like we had with Daniel Knight? Do you think Jared would move Paul Williams if he needed to try and take the win?
I mean, if the checkered flag's out, I'd wreck my grandma.
Christian, do you have the same disposition towards your grandparents?
I think it's one of those difficult things, and I think this is where the short track racing sort of argument kind of comes in a little bit, because there's a right way to do a short track, and this is going to sound so strange. There's a right way to do a contact pass at a short track, and then there's a wrong way to do it. And we've kind of seen a lot of the wrong way tonight, and that's where the car behind, rather than just pushing the car he's trying to pass up a lane, he'll actually just hook him around his nose. Really what you want to do, if you do want to try a contact pass at a short track, you have to hit the car ahead of you square, and you have to do it before he turns into the corner. And what that does is that just pushes him past where he'd normally want to be braking, and moves him up into that next lane. And it can be done. We saw it a little bit last night in the Coke Series where it was possible to enact a pass like that. But it's very difficult. You have to be very experienced to know exactly how hard to hit the car and where to hit the car on the entry to the corner.
Well, they have gone up double file again behind the pace truck. They'll get going with about 3 laps to go. Paul Williams will lead them to the line with Jared Mogard on the outside. Bradley Hawley in his best position of restart in the last 4 restarts on the inside in 3rd, with Richard Regan Jr. on the high side in 4th. Josue Tellez is in 5th with Rob Haynes next to him in 6th. Brendan Shatley and Adam Zemke on the next row. Colt Lane and Jay Felton are your top 10 as they're running. This may be our final restart of the night, because it looks like we're going to run into the time limit possibly if we get another restart. So as the pace truck pulls off, Paul Williams waits to go. He's waiting longer this time. Bradley Hawley right up against him, and now he gets a good jump. Bradley Hawley got a horrible jump. Jose Tellez goes to pass before the line, and Jose Tellez makes contact with Bradley Hawley in the back. This allows Rob Haynes to go around at the outside in 5th position. They're very slow as they exit the corner, but Paul Williams leads them down.
Very uncharacteristic restart for Bradley Hawley in 184. He's scrambling to make up room as Jared Mogard now goes to work on the leader.
And he's going to be there going into 1. He's got him.
Oh, he's so close. He gets down to the yellow. There's the contact. That's exactly what you were talking about. A move like that, but they're 3-1 as they exit 1 and 2.
A great recovery by the 184. He's now on the inside, the best position to challenge for a second.
Paul Williams gets shoved out of the way with Josue Tellez coming through for that 5th position. Rob Haynes stuck behind this battle for 2nd in the 4th position. Looks like Richard Regan Jr. trying to go around the outside, but Jared Mogard currently leading. Bradley Hawley, he cannot get there. Jared Mogard just needs 2 more clean corners to try and take the win. Here we go into the final corner. Jared Mogard down at the apex. He manages to take the exit well, and Jared Mogard's got a win here at Richmond. Fantastic racing from everyone on this final restart. A lot of contact, good short track moments there. Phenomenal work from everyone on track to keep you clean for those last bits. All right, folks, we are going to take a break here on the Sim Racing Channel, but don't go anywhere. We will have post-race interviews and their official results, and we'll be back with you in a moment. Halves, a green flag run for quite a while, then a bunch of cautions and a phenomenal fight at the end at the PRL race NASCAR Truck Series. What a fantastic race we had on our hands tonight, with Jared Mogard taking the win over Bradley Hawley. Richard Regan Jr. manages to come home in 3rd, with Rob Haynes squeaking through to 4th, with Paul Williams bumped and battered out of the way down to the 5th position. Josue Tellez claws his way up to 6th, with Adam Zemke in 7th and Brendan Chatley in 8th position. Colton Lane is going to come home in 9th, with Jade Felton rounding out your top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 is Thomas Sink in 11th, with Daniel Knight having to settle for 12th place after a very solid run today. Mark Kalin 13th after starting 3rd on the grid. Then Austin Hunter and Brandon Malter complete the top 15. Charles Sumner, John LaBath, Blaine Adams, and James O'Brien, with Mike Richter clearing out the rest of the top 20.
And the last car on the lead lap was Tristan Callahan in 21st. We saw him have a little bit of an issue near the end of the race, get spun around. Moving on to cars off the lead lap now, we had Adam Young in 22nd with JR Bash in 23rd. Then moving into the cars that were 2 laps down, Dominic Begin in 24th alongside Matthew Aubrey in 25th. And then on to the guys who had a really bad night. We had Nicholas Hunter 4 laps down in 26th alongside Stacey Hunter in 27th. Then Ken Huber, Aaron Webb in 28th, involved in that wreck near the end there. Mike Ems in 30th, Adam Show in 31st, and Baron Hilton, the last car to take the flag, in 32nd.
And it was a fantastic race and a good battle to the finish, but Jared Mogard, you were able to get it done when it mattered most. How did you pull off that pass?
It kind of blocked a little bit there going down the front stretch, which, I mean, you got to do that toward the end of the race, and we just didn't lift, and we ended up getting a bad entry into one and got a little bit tight there, and made a little contact with them. Didn't want to do that, but just had a bad entry into one and blocked them up, and it pushed a little bit, but they were able to get by him there and kind of were able to fend them off there toward the end.
And Jared, you were able to gain 1 position every single caution we had at the end of that race. How are you able to gain so many positions so quickly when you didn't have that much racing time?
Well, toward the end of that, after we made the green flag stops there, I adjusted my brakes and they helped me out. And we just got lucky that we restarted on the bottom. We restarted 7th, and being on the bottom on the restarts is so key that everything just kind of worked out that we got to 5th. And then I'm like, all right, if I get to 3rd and get another yellow, I got a shot. And got up to 2nd there, and the plan on the restart there was to stay at his right rear and roll him on the top there, but we were able to clear down and race him out like that. And it just, we got lucky. It kind of worked out for us.
Well, Jared, phenomenal win tonight, and you did an excellent job. We've seen you up here at the top a couple times this season. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I got to thank Ben at Dirt Race Central, Splash and Go Graphics, Twitchy Race Reports, and all the guys on MLSRN, and you guys for doing the broadcast, and everyone at PRL putting on the league. It feels good to finally get the first one out of.
Awesome. Well, Jared, thank you for talking to us, and once again, congrats on the win today.
Yep, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that was Jared Mogart, our winner, and it looks like Chris Phobie is down with Bradley Hawley, who came home in 2nd today.
Well, Bradley, a nice recovery there after that last caution. Looked like things almost went sideways there for you for a second. Take us through those last couple laps.
Yeah, I mean, I got a decent restart, but then ended up having it missing a shift and just causing a little bit of a mess. But I did what I needed to do to try to get the best finish I could after that.
Well, managed to come home 2nd after a nice little 3-wide move there for a moment. Looks like you had to work for this one a little bit more than we've seen the last couple weeks after picking up a couple strong wins, but nonetheless looked like a pretty good run for you out there.
Yeah, I think I was a little too easy at the beginning of the race, and that's what caused me to get tight. Is I didn't let the rear tires get hot and wear out as much as Knight did, and that's probably what was causing my issues in the first run.
All right, now anyone that you'd want to thank that helped make this race possible for you?
I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting this week in, week out. Diecast Kings for sponsoring us, this season again, and the Waterback guys.
All right, congratulations again on a 2nd place run here. That was Bradley Hawley, our runner-up tonight, and Christian's catching up with our 3rd place finisher, Richard Regan Jr.
Richard, if my timing screen is to be believed, you had an absolute dead heat with Rob Haynes coming to the flag there. Both of you 0.753 behind the leader, Jared Mogard. Now, looked like it got a little bit hectic on those late race restarts. How do you kind of deal with that at a track like this?
Yeah, well, first I want to start off by apologizing to Daniel Knight with the contact me and him had. It was hard racing. I didn't mean to get into him, but I got pinched down a little bit and tight on entry, and it caused me to move up a little bit in the center, but definitely didn't mean to do that on him. Kind of ruined his night, which sucks because he drove an awesome race. And also got to say awesome race to Rob Haynes there at the finish. I really thought he got me for 3rd, and then when it popped up that I got 3rd, I was like, I'll take it, but I don't think I got it.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, when I saw it, I actually thought the same thing. I saw Rob come to the line, and I was pretty sure that he had it, but according to the timing screen, it went to you, and I think that's got to be one of the closest finishes I've ever seen for any position, let alone one inside the top 3. Now, obviously, I see a lot in the Cup Series on the Sundays, and now I see you here in this series on the Wednesdays in the trucks. And how kind of different is it racing the truck around here compared to something like the Cup car?
Oh, it's 100% different. The truck race is so much differently. The truck's all about momentum, whereas the Cup car on a mile and a half with the high downforce and low horsepower is about momentum, but you got more power there to help you carry the center. So that's when you come to short tracks, the truck probably has like 600 horsepower, and it's all bottom end torque. So if you're not on it every lap, you're gonna lose it. And earlier in the race, I popped the wall off before when I was trying to set up Bradley for a pass, and that hurt my power a little bit. So all these restarts definitely was not helping me. And it would have been nice to see what would have happened if it would have finished on the green, because I was trying to conserve a little bit there. But we ended up getting those cautions, and yeah, good racing.
Yeah, it definitely looked like it was an interesting strategy game in the middle of the race. Obviously, we saw Paul Williams stay out for a very long time, and it paid off when that yellow came out. But you pitted kind of around the sort of normal point in the race, and it did obviously work out for you towards the end, coming home in 3rd place, and you must be pretty happy with that position. And obviously learned some stuff for the Sunday Racing Cup. And before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, my teammate James O'Brien. Me and him run trucks. Gonna be running Cup again next season with both of us. Gotta thank Jay-Z Racing Photos, ButtKicker, A Bruiser Racewear, Splash and Go Graphics, Neonism, Craftsman's Club, Shell, Multiple Sclerosis Society, Susan G. Coleman. I gotta thank my mom, my dad, and my aunt for always tuning in. Gotta thank you guys for broadcasting. And thanks to all the fans tuning in. And thanks to Diecast Kings for sponsoring the series.
Well, thank you for coming and chatting with us, and we'll see you again on Sunday.
Awesome. Thanks.
That was Richard Regan Jr., our 3rd place finisher, and that's going to wrap us up for tonight. A big thank you to the Precision Racing League for bringing us on for another season, and a big thank you to this season's sponsors, Diecast Kings as well as the ButtKicker. Fantastic companies, and we really encourage you to go look at their products. Thank you also to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast, which are listed here on your screen. As always, many thanks to June Wallon, who provides our awesome music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to today's crew, Sean, Chris, Dougie, and a special thanks to Kristen Challoner for helping us out tonight. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Grand. If you want to see more racing action, hit that big red subscribe button as well so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Our next race for the PRL trucks is going to be at Talladega, Wednesday, April 22nd at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be a cracker for sure. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. We hope you've enjoyed joining us tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing this race to you. We hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you one day.